Welcome back. The children of Melissa and Mark Hortman are dealing with an unimaginable tragedy. We've told you about their call to honor their parents' memory. And there's one person in Minnesota, also the child of a politician, who can relate to their grief. And now he's offering them words of wisdom and support. Dave Wellstone lost both his parents suddenly 23 years ago in a plane crash. Paul Wellstone was arguably one of the state's most popular Democratic senators, often campaigning in his iconic green bus. In an exclusive interview, Dave tells Jennifer Hoff when the bus will make its return as he reflects on losing his friends.
Where there's restoration comes healing, fixing what was broken.
I mean, this is the time capsule.
And for Dave Wellstone, that's his dad's famous green bus. Paul Wellstone, his wife Sheila, and their daughter were killed in a plane crash more than 2 decades ago.
He would sit here with staff, they'd go over stuff.
Working on the bus is also how Dave worked through the sudden tragedy.
That day you were in a bit of a zombie-like state. Is that fair?
Yeah, you're in shock. I mean, I think it's fair to say that anybody who deals with this is probably still in a state of shock because it's so sudden and so quick, and there is so much attention around it. That's an added layer of complexity.
The hard work of healing now can help others, including Representative Melissa Hortman's children, after a gunman shot and killed her and her husband at home last weekend, targeting Senator John Hoffman and his wife, too, who survived, shielding their daughter from the politically motivated attack. Dave, close to all of them.
In the short term, is there any bit of advice that you would have for those families?
You know, just, I think, doing what they need to do for themselves, I think is probably very, very important. But just to know that there's just outpouring from everybody, but including people like myself who might have a sense of what they're going through. And now is not the time, but there's always a path forward.
Dave's work in public service mirrors that of his parents. Paul fighting for environment, labor, and health care. Sheila supporting the rights of domestic violence victims.
I dealt with my stuff a long time ago. And now my time is to get out and to try to help lead with a message of let's pull together, let's get back to what politics was, let's try to improve people's lives just like the Speaker Hortman and Senator Hoffman.
Dave hopeful a green bus is a reminder of better politics and that his friend can be on it fighting for a brighter future, even if the past is riddled with pain.
I've talked to John Hoffman a long time and he said, I'm going to be on that inaugural ride. I'm like, yeah, you will. He'll be on that ride. And I owe that to them. I'm seeing their faces like all of us, and I'm also seeing what we can do.
Jennifer Hoff.
This is a great state.
KARE 11 News.
Dave plans to debut the restored bus at the St. Joseph 4th of July parade and will be sitting on the back of it, hopeful his friend Senator Hoffman is there too. We keep learning about Hortman's impact on our state, and at a vigil organized by Unrestrict Minnesota, the community there reflected on a woman who fought for their cause. And as Morgan Wolf reports, they are struggling with both grief and rising threats to their safety.
The motion prevails.
In her time as a state lawmaker, Melissa Hortman fought for women's rights from the beginning. One of her largest legislative moments in recent years followed one of the largest overturnings of a Supreme Court case, Roe v. Wade.
I want to say on the Equal Rights Amendment last year, it was over 16 hours of debate.
Gender Justice and Gender Justice Action Executive Director Megan Peterson worked closely with Hortman on equal rights legislation in 2023, codifying abortion rights. It didn't pass, though, without contention.
It enshrines the most extreme abortion rights that are already legal in Minnesota. It enshrines those.
If Republicans are conditioning their support for a bonding bill on denying civil rights to trans Minnesotans, then we won't have a bonding bill.
It was a really key moment for someone with her level of leadership in this state to just say, this is not a negotiating space.
Federal investigators say that they found names of Democratic lawmakers and also abortion providers written down in the suspected shooter's notebook. Megan says that violence against supporters of reproductive rights isn't new, and it's only getting worse.
There have been, unfortunately, many other abortion providers and clinic workers who have experienced violence and and lost their lives. It is a, constant threat for people in this field. I think losses like this are both personal and they're also collective. And for our community, it's familiar, unfortunately, and it's scary. It's scary to be reminded that this fear that we, have to live with day in and day out is justified.
She was silenced by violence But her impact speaks louder than words.
When you think back on your time of working with her on legislation and also just your friendship, how are you choosing to remember her?
I feel very lucky to have been able to work with her professionally. I'm remembering her with a tremendous amount of respect and gratitude, and her huge heart and commitment to all Minnesotans.
Brooklyn Park Police Sergeant Riley Norden had just ended his shift when he heard about the shooting at the Hoffman's home in Champlin on Saturday. Brooklyn Park Police Chief now sharing what he did next that likely saved many lives. Heidi Wigdahl spoke with him.
The largest manhunt in Minnesota history could have unfolded differently had it not been for Brooklyn Park Police.
No question, those officers saved lives. I mean, he does not stop. He had already been to 4 addresses. That was the 4th address that we caught him at. This was going to be catastrophic over the next couple hours.
Chief Mark Bruley says it started to sink in when he arrived to the aftermath at the Hortmans' home. There, he caught up with the SWAT commander, Sergeant Riley Norden.
How did we get here? And he's like, I gotta be honest with you, Chief. I heard Hoffman had been shot up in Champlin, and I started thinking to myself, like, Melissa, whenever something happens, she'll usually ask us to drive by her house, and she's had some idle threats over the years by constituents. And so he's like, I just thought to myself, like, we should just drive by her house.
Sergeant Norden sent 2 officers. When they arrived, the chief says the officers found Vance Belter at the door. Then came the gunfire and a 43-hour manhunt.
I've known that sergeant for a long time. Phenomenal police officer. But even this for him, who's a great cop, to have the intuition to go, right, because I think my thought would have been like, can I help up at the scene? Has Hoffman's family been notified? He was thinking in terms of, man, is this an attack, right? Is this an attack on a senator? Could our representative be next? Incredible intuition. And quite honestly, saved lives. There's just no question about it.
Chief Bruley also spoke highly of the 2 officers who first responded to the Hortmans' house. He says it was just the beginning of an incredible 43 hours, seeing some of the most amazing human beings perform at the highest level possible. Stick with us. More news and weather coming up after the break.